Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Edina. I'm Sam Thompson and I'm proud to be your 66th president. We're coming to you live from the Edina Country Club and also on Zoom. The Edina High School boys tennis team, state champs last week. Congratulations. All right. We have a jam-packed schedule, so I'm going to jump right into member update. Tim Murphy's back. Great to see you, Tim. And you had a defibrillator implant last week, so nice to have you back with us. All the grandparents, due to COVID, have been missing their grandkids. And so Hannelore Brucker was kind enough to share this photo of her daughter, Monica. She went out and visited her daughter with their 4 grandkids in Boston over Memorial Weekend. So it was really great to see her grandkids, she was telling me. So thanks for sending that, Hannelore. And Dr. Dash is here, and you're up on the screen, Dr. Dash. We're showing you with Amy Klobuchar, and you were celebrating the 15th anniversary last weekend of the Hindu temple and Mandar inauguration. So it sounded like it was a great event. Thanks so much for sharing that. And Thom was recently honored, and Thom, so that some of you may not know, he passed this last year, and he was honored at the National Speakers Conference not too long ago. This shows really how well Thom is respected in the speakers industry, and with all of us, of course. And Rotary in the news. Post Plus is having an open house, and I believe Sylvester Thomas handed out some flyers out on your table. That is going to be on Saturday, June 26th. Now, Post Plus is the business that we've been helping on Lake Street that needed help after the riots this past year. So together with 7 other businesses, they're having an open house. And it's going to run from 10 a.m. to noon. And Mayor Fry from Minneapolis will be there. So hopefully many of you can attend that. It's just a short time, and grab the flyers, and we'd love to see you attend. And Lindsey Smaka is looking to place some volunteers this summer. These are volunteers from the Edina Rotary Global Scholars Program. The students, they're looking to help out. So if you're interested, you can, if you have any way that they can volunteer, please see Lindsey. And JSC Sober Living. They installed new cameras just recently in both their homes. This organization, we provided grants for to buy these cameras. And the women that reside there are very happy to have these cameras installed. It sounds like there are some cars that were broken into, so they feel much safer now with these cameras. And birthday, one birthday next week. Bjorn, happy birthday. And one anniversary, Dan Mott. Congratulations, you have an anniversary this next week. And assisting off podium, our greeters are Marty Cooper and Rick Carlson. Zoom greeter is Scott Blake. Front desk, Kevin Khalil. Photographer, Kaylin Eisness. And AV support, doubling up, Scott Blake again. So I'd like to now invite up Mike Martiny to give us the invocation pledge and the 4-way test.
Thanks, Sam. All the truly pious people are busy at the same pool party today, so you're stuck with me. As we prepare to leave the distractions of the day outside these walls, to be fully present in this room with these friends for only the next hour, let's take a moment to remember all the differences represented in our Rotary family. It is good to recognize how different we are, our talents, our dreams, our backgrounds, our occupations. It's good to know that when we were created, the mold was broken. No one is exactly like anyone else, and that makes us stronger. We take these differences and mobilize them for the good of Rotary and our community. We use our differences to move forward toward a common goal. All people of service, trust, and compassion are welcome here. Thank you for this meal. Bless us as we meet together. Thank you for your individuality and our common bond of service. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. First, is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Good afternoon, everyone. How many people in here noticed the unbelievable floral arrangement on the way in today? Anyone but me? Absolutely unbelievable. Thank you, Edina Country Club. I am going to introduce visiting Rotarians and guests. And first, visiting Rotarian Paul Nelson. I know I saw you when I walked in. Paul, give us a wave. Edina Morningside Club.
Just real quick, I got a couple of very brief announcements. I indicated to Sam a little bit before this, so thank you. The club that you all birthed 32 years ago has a couple of events coming up very soon. Saturday, June 26th, we will be having a Rock and Rotary event. We'll have a band, food, and refreshments from 6 to 10. All this information is on our website. It's an event to honor our very own District Governor Thom, so please consider attending that. Also, 2 days later, on Monday, June 28th, we have our golf tournament. This is our major fundraiser, and I encourage you to also check out our website, emrotary.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. I want to introduce our guest today, Catherine Gump. Andrew is here. Andrew, stand up and give us a wave. It's our favorite honorary Rotarian, Andrew Gump, Thom and Catherine's son. Thanks for joining us. And then Dick Shoquist is a guest of Tim Murphy. Where is Tim and guest? Oh, right here. Here you are.
Here's Dick. Stand up. Dick is a good friend of mine for many years. If you bought a Toyota or had it fixed, he's done it. He's Burnsville Toyota. He's a good friend of mine that I met at our church years ago. So, yeah. And he's also the one that got stuck with bringing me today. So,
thank you, Tim, and thank you, Dick, for driving Tim. And then, last but not least, Woosh Bayun has brought a guest. Dr. Kim is here.
This is my dear friend, Dr. Tae Kim. He taught at the University of Minnesota Medical School, and he practiced oncology at Abbott Northwestern. More importantly, he treated Bill Klein, our past president, and he gave Bill 12 additional years of his life. I am very glad that he could join us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kim. Welcome. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a major donor presentation. Chris and Luther, if you could please step up. And they have reached major donor 1, which is a cumulative $10,000 or more. And once they're up here, I'll talk a little bit about them. Chris and Luther, the law firm that Chris and Luther founded together in 1984, does really significant work in the elder care community. As partners in life and partners as work, their guiding principle has been to give back and help those in need or provide those with representation that they cannot do so for themselves. Chris retired this year, but Luther carries on. Her dedication to clients and vigorous representation of their rights has earned her prominent recognition. Mazer has been named in statewide surveys to the Minnesota Super Lawyers list and ranked as one of the top Minnesota women super lawyers by Minnesota Law and Politics and Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine. Luther M. Amundsen, managing shareholder of Mazer Amundsen and Boggio, leads the firm's litigation department. He is known in the legal community for his vigorous pursuit of his clients' legal rights and his tenacious quest for fair compensation for those he represents. They are the power couple that focuses on giving back. I'd like to congratulate both of you, and you'll both be receiving these pins.
Thank you.
Okay? If you'd like to say a couple words. How about a nice hand?
It's the biggest bang for the buck. I can't say any more than that. It's your turn.
And I get to follow that. First of all, I want to find out who wrote those words.
so I can figure out how to hire them. Just wanted to say thank you. The reason why we both joined Rotary was because of what you do. Not because of what you say, but because of what you do. There's a lot of organizations out there who say a whole bunch of things and don't do anything. That's not what you guys do. And everything that you do is consistent with what we try to do in our firm as well on behalf of our clients. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks so much.
I'm the power in the power couple.
You are the power.
Okay?
Part of that.
Done? Done? Are we done?
You're done. Okay, Gene Morrison.
Good afternoon. I am here to talk to you about the Helping Hands Committee and our report to you. This has been our first year as a committee, and the committee is all about what Rotary is all about, which is connecting and caring. And this particular committee focuses internally on you as members. So what we did over a period of time is we made 164 calls to members to talk about how people are doing, to make a connection. How are you doing? How is it going? Do you have any needs, any concerns? And then we asked, how do you feel about being a Edina Rotarian, and what ideas do you have to help us make this even a better club? We were able to have a conversation with 80% of our members, which we're really happy about. And I want you to take a look at the committee. And if you're on this committee, could I just ask you to stand for a minute? This was a lot of really hard work done by this committee. Great group of people who care a lot about you as members. And I wanted to share with you the themes that dropped out of all of those calls. People love Edina Rotary, and they love Rotary. They love coming to meetings like today with great people, and they love making friendships and learning. As members, you love serving with other service-minded great people, as was just mentioned, and making a positive difference in others' lives by helping meet important needs. There is a desire for even more, there's a desire for increased engagement, even more opportunity to be together, to connect with each other, and to be together to serve. So as we take a look at how to make this even a better #1 club in the world, more connection with great people. Over this last year, people felt disconnected from Rotary due to the COVID restrictions, and they were looking forward to this very thing, as being in a room, connecting with great friends and other people who love to serve. There was respect and amazement for how well this club has been run during this past difficult year. That was another theme that we heard when we spoke with you. Some don't enjoy the Zoom meetings, or they're Zoomed out because of work commitments, and others found Zoom a very acceptable way to stay informed and in touch, and some are doing that today still. People appreciated the call and the concern and the caring. I'm not going to go through this because of time, but I just wanted you to see, I made a list of what people like about Edina Rotary. The one on top is most important, fellowship and social ability of this club and the camaraderie. And I'm sure you're enjoying that at your tables today. In terms of service, people like and value the opportunity to serve with other people. They love the meetings like today, and there was comment about taking the energy that's created at a meeting, taking that back to your work life and taking that back to your personal life. People feel that this is a very vibrant, dynamic, robust club that's well organized, well structured, highly focused and efficient. And in particular, people love the socializing aspect of being with great people and having fun. 44 suggestions came from all of you in those phone calls. So what I'm going to do is present those 44 suggestions in a report to the board, and those suggestions were dropped into several themes. So what we did is hear you, and now we'll reflect those suggestions. And let me just say thank you to you for participating. Let me thank the committee for doing the hard and important and hard work of making those calls. And let me also thank the board for being interested in your feedback, your input, and doing something about that to help us evolve as a club. You either grow or die. In business, in organizations, to help us evolve as a club and continue to be the #1 club in the universe.
Okay, Raj Kumar, if you could please come up for our induction to Geetu, our new member.
I want to apologize in advance. I have a couple of duties today. I'm part of the efficiency movement by Mike Martiny. Get the same guy to do a number of things. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Raj Kumar. I've been a member of this club on and off for the last 5 years. And I say on and off because I was on leave of absence for a couple of years, and then coming back and working in Woodbury didn't make my attendance easy. So COVID has been actually good for Rotary and I. Today, my first job, it is my supreme privilege and extreme pleasure to introduce my first sponsored new member, Geetu Sharma, under the classification of financial advisor. I know it's taken me a long time to bring my first member in, but as my mom says, better late than never. I met Geetu and her husband Pankaj at the Best Western Hotel in Chavannes-de-Bourgie, Switzerland. Sounds beautiful, it was. When he and I moved to the General Mills offices together back in 2014. We became good friends, spent many weekends together exploring that country and doing a little bit of work. When it came time for them to move to the US, I convinced them to move to Edina. They almost made it. They're on the other side, just across the border in Hopkins. But they enjoy being here. We enjoy their company in Edina. And the next best thing to do was to join Rotary. So here is Geetu. Geetu, I, Raj Kumar, as a member of the Rotary Club of Edina, which we all know is the best club in the universe, and on behalf of our entire membership, welcome you as a new member to our club. Please join in the friendship that we all share and the passion that we hold for our projects that make our community and the world a better place to live. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people who desire to uphold the high professional standards in their vocations. As the founder of Alpha's Future, an investment management business focusing on sustainability and impact investing, your classification will be financial advisor. Please get involved by joining many of our committees. By doing this, you will get to know more of our membership and you will really find the true value of Rotary's motto, service above self. So Geetu Sharma, at this time, I present you with the Rotary pin and membership packet. Podium is yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Geetu Sharma. Thank you Raj for the great introduction. I'm super excited to be here. I've really enjoyed coming for the meetings and I really appreciate the work and the service that Rotary does, and I think it's truly important, truly valuable, and I'm so excited to participate with you and help make the world a better place. A little bit about me. I'm originally from India. I've traveled from Delhi to Mumbai to London to Geneva where we met Raj, and now in Minnesota. I've always worked in the financial markets as in various roles, and most recently I worked in Asia, Europe and US, and most recently I was working as a fund manager managing global equity portfolios, very technical financial jargon. I'm an MBA from London Business School, and after moving here in Minnesota, I've been volunteering with various organizations linked to my expertise and what I can bring to the table, and that includes like participating with the Twin Cities Impact Investing ecosystem, or the working with the Minneapolis Foundation, or helping students with the Student Investment Fund at Carlson School of Management. I enjoy reading, yoga, hiking, golf. I suck at it, but I enjoy the social part. I'm really good at having a glass of wine with friends. a bit about my company. So after moving to Minnesota, so we moved here with my husband's job as he works with General Mills and he got transferred here. I decided to start my own investment business, and the genesis of that was one day my 9-year-old daughter came back from school and she said, "Mom, how can we save the planet?" She was learning about climate change and some of the global sustainability issues, and it occurred to me that this is the time for us to act. And I wanted to leverage my experience in the investing world to help create more awareness about some of these issues and help people invest in a way that makes a positive impact while also helping them generate higher returns. So my focus is sustainable investing, and I serve individuals, foundations, and I also work with financial advisors who can market my product to their clients. And I have a website, so if you want any more information, you're most welcome to check it out. This is my family. So my husband Pankaj, I already talked about. We have 2 girls, Kyra, who's almost 14 now. She'll be 14 in July, and Yana, who's 8. And there's a picture of us in our traditional Indian dress for one of the festivals. My elder one is a swimmer. She swims with the Edina Swim Club. She enjoys that. She's been swimming for 7-8 years now. And my younger one is both a gymnast and a soccer player. Right now she's figuring out what she wants to do. They both go to Blake School. Yeah, and we've been here for 3 years now. That's it. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome, Geetu. That was great. We're now ready for our program, and Mike Kallas will be introducing our speaker. Mike has been practicing law since 1984 in the areas of real estate law, business law, and estate planning. Mike has a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from St. John's University and a law degree from William Mitchell College of Law. Mike and his wife Julene live in Eden Prairie and have 3 married children and 5 grandchildren. In his spare time, Mike loves to read, travel, and officiate high school football. Welcome up, Mike Kallas.
Thank you, Sam. Well, I'm excited about today's speaker. Don MacPherson is CEO of a company called 12 Geniuses, a company that helps organizations better understand and prepare for the social and technology trends changing the world, including aging, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, privacy, and social media. He's going to speak to us today about the 12 trends shaping the 2020s. Don's also an executive of a company called Think to Perform Research Institute. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing moral, purposeful, and emotionally intelligent leadership. Don is an avid traveler and volunteer. He's visited 74 countries. He's been a big brother for more than 20 years. He's co-founder of a company called Inner City Ducks. It's an organization changing the lives of 140 young athletes in the Camden neighborhood of Minneapolis. He's also a member of the Harmony Foundation, which is a drug and addiction rehab center in Estes Park, Colorado. Please provide a warm Rotary welcome to Don MacPherson.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here today. And the youngest member of our audience is my 5-year-old daughter, so she is the person I am most interested in impressing today. So I'm going to talk about 12 trends that are shaping the way we live and work, and I'm going to have to do that in 25 minutes. So I'm going to talk pretty quickly. I'll spend a little bit more time on some of them than others, but what I would like you to do as I talk about these trends is think about how they will change your life as an individual, how they may change your company, how they may change your industry. So if you think about those things, I think you're going to walk away with some value from today's presentation. As Mike said, I'm involved in 4 different organizations. All of these organizations align with my purpose, and my purpose in life is to help people reach their performance potential. So I think one of the very important things when we talk about performance potential is understanding where the world is going so we can prepare for it. And I'm operating under the assumption that the 2020s are going to be one of the most disruptive decades in human history. And I would put it up there right with the 1350s, when Europe and Africa, North Africa, lost about 40% of their population through the bubonic plague. I'll put it up there with World War I and World War II, and I'll put it up there with the 1990s. Now you think bubonic plague, World War I and World War II, why were the 90s so disruptive? We had Seinfeld, we had Pearl Jam, it was awesome. And you're right, it was awesome. And one of the reasons why the 90s were so important is because hundreds of millions of people for the first time experienced freedom. And so it was positively disruptive. And based on the choices we make over the next decade, we get to determine whether or not this disruption during the 20s is going to be a positive disruption or if it's going to be a negative disruption. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about comes from people I have been interviewing over the last 3 years. I have a podcast called 12 Geniuses, and on your table there is an invitation to join 12 Geniuses, or just a postcard talking about 12 Geniuses. So if you're interested in this topic, I recommend that follow us and listen to the podcast. Some of the people I've been interviewing, entrepreneurs in the room, will at 4 o'clock recognize Gino Wickman. He's the author of Traction. At 6 o'clock is Krista Tippett, the host of On Being. At 11 o'clock is Master Gunnery Sergeant Scott Stalker, the Command Senior Enlisted Leader of U.S. Space Command. And at midnight up there is Harry Samad. He is responsible for apprehending Zacharias Moussaoui, the person they call the 20th hijacker, which in the podcast he debunks that myth. He was not the 20th hijacker, but somebody who was related to the 9/11 hijackings. So that was in season 3. In season 4, we've talked about the future of healthcare, education, climate change, the future of cities, artificial intelligence. We really look at a broad number of topics. And the last one that we'll be talking about will be released on Tuesday, and it'll be the future of women at work. So we looked at the McKinsey report that came out in September, looking at how women were 30% more likely than men to leave the workforce as a result of the pandemic. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about comes from these incredible guests, and not just my own research. I'm going to talk about 6 trends that are technology trends and 6 social trends. And as you think about these technology trends, think about how they might be catalysts for the social trends that I'll talk about. Again, think about how does this affect me, my work, my team, my organization, and my industry. The first one we're going to look at here is augmented reality and virtual reality. And with respect to augmented reality, normally we live in a world where our environment influences us. But in the future, through augmented reality, we are going to influence our environment. So I'm just going to give you a quick example of how that might look. My daughter Quinn and I, we went to Berlin 2 years ago for the 30th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And as we walked throughout the city, I could hold up my phone, and using augmented reality, I could see the wall. Now, I could see the wall in the 1960s, in the 1970s, and the 1980s, how it had changed. I was manipulating the environment. I determined the environment. Virtual reality is going to be disruptive in terms of how we manage healthcare. So Cedars-Sinai is using virtual reality as a device for pain reduction. And they've found that people who are using virtual reality as kind of a distraction experience 25% less pain. So this is remarkable. Harmony Foundation, the organization for which I'm a board member, is using it to treat addiction. They're using it to help people visualize what their life might look like if they do not choose to stop using alcohol or drugs, and what it might look like if they do choose. That's powerful when you can look out 10, 15, 20 years at what their life might look like. So this is going to be a highly, highly disruptive technology. It's in market right now. Lots of organizations are using it, but over the next 10 years, it will be extraordinarily disruptive. And it will increase the intimacy that we have. Zoom is great for having face-to-face connections, but virtual reality will help us feel like we're in the room with other people, which will help collaboration and intimacy and all sorts of other things. And it will be remarkable in terms of training people, because if you start to use VR with biotechnologies, you can look at pulse and brain activity. So when you're training soldiers or firefighters or police officers, it's a game changer. The next technology is cybersecurity. 127 new devices are added to the internet every second. That's 11 million a day and 4 billion a year. It's not slowing down. By 2030, there'll be 50 billion devices connected to the internet. And we have seen just recently how devastating cyber hacks can be with the JBS hacking and with the colonial hacking. Now imagine what happened in Texas in February happening all across the country, where our grids get hacked and we don't have access to energy. That is a possibility. Our transportation could be hacked. Our healthcare system could be hacked. Our banking system could be hacked. There are a number, about a dozen different, very critical parts of infrastructure that could be disrupted if we do not invest properly in cybersecurity. And when I say we, I mean us as individuals, our organizations, and our country. The Pentagon, Department of Defense, spends $10 billion on cybersecurity a year out of a budget of over $750 billion. Just $10 billion. We're really underfunded as it relates to cybersecurity and our defense. And when I talked to Master Gunnery Sergeant Stalker, head of U.S. Space Command, he said that we are at war right now with foreign actors via the internet. So that is not going to slow down. In fact, it is only going to increase. Carbon innovation, Geetu talked about this a little bit. In my opinion, and based on what I have seen over the last 5-10 years, climate change represents the greatest threat to humanity and the greatest economic opportunity that we have ever seen. And just to give you one quick example of that, go check out Tesla's market cap right now. This is a company with tens of billions of dollars in revenue and very little profit that's worth $600 billion right now. The next closest auto manufacturer is only slightly over $200 billion. So we're going to see all sorts of carbon innovations. The individual that I interviewed is Mehrdad Mahutian, and what he created is a carbon negative concrete manufacturing process. So if you know anything about the concrete industry, it accounts for about 5% of all global emissions. 5%. If we magically started using Mehrdad's method for creation of concrete, we would wipe out 5% of carbon emissions right away. And it actually uses carbon as a resource. So it takes carbon out of the atmosphere in the production of their concrete. So this is a huge, huge opportunity. And you're hearing more and more organizations making this a priority. Cargill has committed to reducing their supply chain carbon emissions by 30% by 2030. We've seen Microsoft commit to being carbon neutral by 2030, and overall, throughout their history, carbon negative by 2050. That means they will have taken more carbon out of the atmosphere than they have put into the atmosphere throughout their history as a company. So this is not only important in terms of creating an environment in which we need to take 500 gigatons of carbon out of the atmosphere, but it's also a very, very important tool for attracting people to our organization. So depending on how you're looking at this, it's very, very important to bringing people into our organizations. Biotechnology, and these next three are what I call faith benders. And there have been faith, and I use this a little bit provocatively, but there have been faith benders throughout human history. Imagine living 100 years ago and seeing the first flight. That must have bent people's faith back then. But these next three are really remarkable in terms of human beings being able to do things that only God had the ability to do in the past. So biotechnology being one of them, and one of the things that I'm very excited about with biotechnology is the ability for us to use our own stem cells to create joints or organs That is something that will happen in the future. Things like that are happening right now, but that will become commonplace, perhaps even as commonplace as getting a knee replaced or a shoulder replaced. It's really, really remarkable. Another thing that I'm very excited about related to biotechnology is the ability to create bioplastics. And this would be plastics that completely dissolve using biotechnology and enzymes. So a big problem that we have in our oceans is all of this plastic that 2 times the size of Texas, the Great Pacific garbage patch is. Imagine if we could wipe that out and solve that through biotechnology. I interviewed Hank Greeley, who is an ethicist at Stanford, and we talked about how humans very likely by 2050 will no longer have intercourse to have children. It will be used yeah, I know, it's sad. But there's something called pre-implantation genetic diagnosis where we will be able to look at the embryos and their genetic makeup and choose the most healthy one and then implant that and have a child. Now, this raises all sorts of ethical dilemmas, but just this, and that's why I interviewed him, is to talk about the ethics of this, but remarkable in terms of capabilities. The fifth out of 6 technologies is quantum computing, and I'm going to be very, very honest with you. If I could look you all in the eye at one time, I will just say, I don't understand this one. But what I do know is that I've had enough conversations with experts to know that this is going to be a game changer. Quantum scientists say that our computers could be as much as 1 million times faster using quantum computing. Google and some of the big technology players are investing significantly here with their self-driving cars and with other technologies. So this is a game changer. And you're hearing a lot about UFOs, unidentified flying objects, so I don't know if you've been paying attention to that. It is unidentified for a lot of us, but there's the potential that through using quantum technology, these new flying objects are actually produced by human beings. So when I've had conversations with people in the military, they talk about hypersonic technology that's 5 times the speed of sound. Well, through quantum, maybe we can even go faster than that. And maybe we can, you've seen some of the video. That's possible using quantum. The last of the 6 technology trends is artificial intelligence. And one of my guests, a captain in the Air Force, and he is running a joint project with MIT, talked about how artificial intelligence is going to change every single job, every single team, company, industry. It's that important. And many of us use this technology today. But what AI needs more than anything is data, and good data. And to give you a sense of how much data was created last year was 59 zettabytes. Now 1 zettabyte, we all know what a gigabyte is, right? We kind of see that on our phone or see that on our computer. It's a decent sized file. 1 zettabyte is 1 trillion gigabytes. So we've created 59 trillion zettabytes of data just last year. Human beings did. Now, if you look at 19 and 20 combined, that's 90% of the data that have ever been created by human beings. We are on the path to creating 12,000 zettabytes of data by the end of the decade, in a year, in a single year. So AI will only get stronger. It's only going to be more disruptive. And just to give you a sense, China now creates a social score for all 1.4 billion people in the country. And that social score is determined based on artificial intelligence, and it determines whether somebody can board a plane, whether they can get a job, whether they get a passport, all sorts of things. So there's nefarious results to artificial intelligence, but incredible upside as well, as with all of these trends. I'm going to go through these 6 social trends. And so as I mentioned, think about the technology trends and imagine how they are going to influence these social trends. Aging, average lifespan of 100 years is going to be very possible. In fact, my guest Dr. Ousted, believes that the first 150-year-old human has already been born and was born in the early 2000s. There are medications that have been proven to extend life in laboratory rats and in animals by a third, even 2/3. Metformin and rapamycin being two of those. Now imagine what this does to financial advising. You know, if people are going to live 90, 100, 120 years old, imagine what it does to our social structure, our healthcare system, to Social Security. This is a big, it has huge implications. Right now, there are over 140 million people worldwide who are over the age of 80. That's going to triple by 2050. 1 in 4 people will be over the age of 80 by the end of the century. So it's going to be a huge, and this has implications to how we work, how we recruit, how we keep ourselves relevant in the workforce. The next one is addiction. This is pretty important to me because I'm on the board of Harmony Foundation. I have not struggled with addiction, which I'm very thankful for. But when I look at addiction, I don't look at just drug and alcohol addiction. I look at technology addiction. 18 to 34-year-olds, 60% of them say they use their phones excessively. That's self-reported. 3 out of 5 of them say they use it excessively. The average millennial will pick up their phone 150 times a day. You can track your activity on your phone. That's addiction. And none of us, I don't think, would give a cigarette to a 9-year-old or an 11-year-old. But we have had no problem over the last 16 months giving an unfettered access to phones and tablets and computers and having people homeschool. We have no idea what the effects of this sort of allowance is to our children. And this is something that we're going to have to follow very closely. The reason why I have the future of psychedelics up here is because there's been research done by Johns Hopkins University that actually psychedelics may help people stop drinking, stop smoking, and stop using drugs. So there's incredible research that's being done there. Immigration is going to be largely driven from climate change. So in 2018, there were 17 million people globally who were displaced from their homes as a result of storms, mostly floods and storms, rainstorms. That will only increase and amplify as climate change worsens. So we'll see tens of millions of people having to leave their homes, having to leave their countries as a result. And that's going to have major implications. Now, it can solve a lot of problems for aging countries. So they could be attracting workers into their country. But we're going to have to get over nationalism. We're going to have to get over xenophobia, racism. So there's going to be a lot of tension as a result of immigration. Inequality, that's not going anywhere. Just think about, June is Pride Month. Think about how gay pride has changed over the last 10, 20, and 30 years. It's become normalized. The thing that I like to talk about in terms of inequality is shortly after George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, 500,000 people gathered and protested on June 6th of last year. And tens of millions of people protested around the world. And the way that I see this as being different this time is when I look back to the 1968 Olympics, and there's that iconic photo of the 2 sprinters with their heads bowed, black gloves, and barefoot, protesting poverty in the United States. And they were shunned when they came back to this country. That was 1968. Colin Kaepernick took a knee in 2013 and 2014, and he was pushed out of the NFL. And I have no doubt that he was pushed out of the NFL. In 2020, when the NBA went on strike, these are men who were making tens of millions of dollars to play a game. Their owners got behind them, and they said, let's talk about inequality in our country. Let's talk about what has happened. So I believe that what happened over the last year, 13 months, is going to be sustainable, and we will start to address a lot of the inequality that has happened in our country. And it's not just race or gay and lesbian rights. it's access to education, it's access to healthcare. This is going to be a big tension point, to continue to be a big tension point in our country and other countries around the world. The last two are privacy. 62% of us don't believe we can go through our day without companies collecting data on us. And 73% of us, 77% of the US is concerned or very concerned about how companies are using our data. And I don't know if there's anybody in this room who's not concerned, but we all should be concerned about it. We're just starting to learn about the implications of it. But it's not just the data that we have available through our phones or through our tablets and through our computers. There's technology out there that can use the facial identification to determine where you are and track your movements. So China has 500 million cameras in the country, and they are tracking movement. Now, they don't have to look at your phone. They can just follow your face. Protest and cover your face, that's okay. There's gait recognition. There's something called Jetson that the Department of Defense has created. Jetson can identify you from 200 meters away based on your heartbeat. Yes. There's satellite capabilities. If Geetu and Raj were having a conversation and the government wanted, and I'm not going to say the US government, but a government wanted to listen in on that conversation, they can from space. That technology exists today. We will continue to have conversations. There will continue to be implications to our loss of privacy. Which brings me to the last one, and that's trust. And trust has been a huge, been a pressure point for a lot of us. Even just trusting people who are politically different than we are. 40% of us say today that we would not want our son or daughter to marry somebody from the opposite political party. Really? 40%. Can't believe that. It blew my mind. So I interviewed Alvaro Marquez. He did a study with his team, and it was in collaboration with Hitachi. They looked at Trust 2030, and they said that by 2030, there are 3 scenarios for trust. There will be decentralized and transparent. That means that I will know what everybody in my company makes, and they will know what I make. It means I will know what the carbon footprint of the banana that I eat in the morning is, and every sort of other information that is available to us. Now, we're talking about 12,000 zettabytes of data by the end of the year 2030, so that's a lot of information, but it's decentralized and transparent. Another scenario is centralized and curated, and this one really freaks me out. But think about China for a moment. Centralized and curated means you have a relationship with one company, and that company tells you what to eat, when to eat, what to watch, based on your preferences. So it's using data. It's not giving you directions, things that you don't like, but it's using your past preferences. And you have this relationship. So that company knows you better than you. And then the third scenario is distributed and autonomous. And that is more like commune living, where you live with a group of people and you're responsible for your own currency, you're responsible for your own energy production and food production. That's 3 different scenarios. Now, what's so interesting about this is this study was predicated on one global event happening, and it was a data hack, a massive government data hack. And it sent the world down these 3 tracks. Now, I interviewed this man the day after the first coronavirus case was identified in Europe and the United States. So we didn't know about the coronavirus at that point. So it was January of 2020. I interviewed him in his home in Germany. And I contend that the global event that puts us down these paths of the future of trust was the pandemic. If you think about how you trust and who you trust, it has been tested by that pandemic. Those are the 12 trends. I went through them really quick. I think we've got about 4 minutes for questions, and I'd love to hear what you have to ask. Yes, sir.
Talking about cybersecurity and especially
hacking us. Do you ever envision U.S. hacking Russian operations? And Don, if you can...
The question is, if we're talking about Russia hacking the United States, and the gentleman is asking, could you envision us hacking Russia? And the answer is, I can envision, because we have and we are on a daily basis. Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, your orientation is extremely scary.
Yes.
Naturally.
Yep.
And what is your role as a company as far as education, as far as getting to people? And because I think the average person really is going to be out of the formula.
So the question is, the scenario that I've laid out is quite scary. And what is my role or our company's role in helping companies navigate through this? So let me address the first part, the scary part. It's both scary and it's exciting. And I'm an optimist, so I look at these things and I'm truly excited. I believe that I'm going to live to 120. I do. I don't think that it's impossible. I eat right. I exercise. The technologies that will be available to us, not just in 20 years, but in 10 years, are quite exciting. So, you know, 120-year life, that sounds exciting to me. And being able to solve many of the problems that we have globally is very possible through these technologies. And I'll just give you one example. The great thing about what happened in the 1990s that we don't talk about enough is that 2/3 of people living in abject poverty have escaped abject poverty. We had 2 billion people in 1990 living in abject poverty. That's $2 a day. 2/3 of them are out of abject poverty. Imagine that. So I'm very optimistic, but to the scary point. Normally, and what I recommend for individuals is be a continuous learner, because we're going to work a long time. You know, people who are under 50 should be working till 80 or 90 years old. And I'm just sorry, that's the fact of the matter. Now, work is different. Work is different. No. Now, if you're a technician, an incredible HVAC guy, and you're 65 and you're tired of going into basements and in attics, we can use augmented reality and be working on our deck in Florida and having apprentices go out and do the hard work. So I'm very optimistic. And just finally, my role is to help organizations navigate through this by helping to reskill their people, identify the right people. That's what I've been doing throughout my career. I think we have time for one more question. Yes, sir.
We have the same goal, 120.
120.
That was a comment.
Love it. I hope we both see each other there. He's got a goal of 120 as well, and I hope you make it. Okay, Don.
Don, thank you very much for that insightful presentation. I am also looking forward to a very exciting future. Maybe 120. All I know is I'm going to need another financial advisor now. And hopefully I'll get a discount. And maybe you can too. So, well, on a serious note, thank you very much. That was very insightful. I think the future is going to be extremely bright for all of us. Very exciting. We're all going to have to kind of navigate in a different way, but hopefully we'll all take advantage of it. So on behalf of the Rotary Club, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts with us. From literacy and peace to water and health, Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million problem solvers who unite to take action to create lasting change to better our world. In honor of your presentation, we will make a donation to Every Meal, formerly known as the Sheridan Story, an organization focused on providing weekend and other food camp programs to over 10,000 children in the Twin Cities metropolitan area. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Are these yours?
Okay, that was fascinating. Thank you so much. If you're interested in serving on Helping Hands Committee, please see Jean Morrison right here, waving her hand. We'd love your help. Next week, it's our transition meeting, and we're going to welcome in Michael Stanzik as our next president, 67th president. And looking ahead, as mentioned, transition meeting, and then as Paul had mentioned, June 26th is Dunk the Gump. All right, I want to thank all of you for being here live and on Zoom. Our major donors, Chris and Luther, thanks so much for everything you do. And welcome, Geetu. Nice to have you as a member. I'd like to leave you with a quote. Yesterday is a canceled check. Today is cash on the line. Tomorrow is a promissory note. Hank Stram. With that, meeting adjourned.